Separatists and loyal guards. Activate your night vision goggles. Prep your most colorful smoke bomb. And look, Mummy, the television is full of violence again.
Because it's time to talk Tull to me.
Talk Tull to me. Ready to activate Talk Tull to me? Over.
Talk Tull to me is a go. Proceed with Talk Tull to me.
Coming in for Talk Tull to me, and Talk Tull to me is hot, and we're going.
Proceed.
Over now.
Welcome back, I am Omen Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are Feckless Momes.
And this is Talk Tull to Me.
A fast-paced shock and awe raid in the prime time of prog rock in which Neopac Nick and Observational Post Omen keep our eagle eyes on the infrared radar to break down the defenses of every single track that surgically precise rock band Jethro Tull has ever released. Song by song, track by track, we will take strategic advice from Maquis Martin Barr, read every report from Public Affairs Officer David Pegg, and whip up a memorandum of agreement with Mark Craney, all in the hopes that Ian Advanced Echelon Anderson will be gentle when he deploys his armor-piercing flute at our hearts.
Yes, no amount of armor can protect you from that flute.
No, it just keeps upgrading.
He is always one step ahead of us.
Yeah.
No matter how much intel we have on Ian Anderson, he will persevere.
He's moved on to digital flute warfare.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So there was a bad scansion on that. He's moved on to digital flute warfare.
Digital flute warfare. I don't know. I would go with, I don't know.
Nick!
Oh, man.
Big exciting episode today. We are jumping into not only a brand new album, but a brand new decade.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
A brand new group of musicianes,
that,
as they say.
Indeed we are. However, before we get into that, I would like to talk a little email, shall we?
I'm sure you would.
Oh, classic Nick wanting to talk email.
Marley!
I've set up a perimeter outside the recording booth.
Thank you, Marley. Keep the kittens away. Do not hurt them, but keep the kittens away, please.
A man disguised as a pizza delivery man will never see the light of day again.
Oh, is this a threat or did this happen, Marley?
I ate the pizza.
Oh.
To test it for poison!
And it's good? Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to have to clean that up. All right, so we're going to dive into an email here. This is from a new writer, Inner.
Quiet innocence.
This is from DB. DB writes in, I just recently found your pod. It is very nice to hear some Tull talk. I first met Mr. Jethro when I was 12, and my older brother brought home Stormwatch.
Ooh.
He played it, and I remember that I thought that the flute was silly. I was into heavy metal, and flute in rock seemed strange. He said, you have to listen to this several times. He played the opener to North Sea Oil again and again, and after a few times I had to admit that it kind of stuck. I am 55 now, but I found Jethro Tull for real when I was 18. Visiting my older brother to record the album Wish You Were Here, he recorded Stormwatch on the other side of the cassette tape. It became a band I played in the car when I was a little sick and tired of the rest. One day, I just realized how damn good it was, and I bought all of their previous records. That completely changed my life music-wise. I'm so glad that I found this music. Today, I can't imagine how empty my life and the world would be without Ian Anderson's music. I started listening from the beginning of your pod, then jumped around a little. Now I try to follow weekly and jump around so that I won't miss a chance for my input. I like your humor, and it's always interesting to hear other people's views on the music. Sometimes you show me another angle, and sometimes I smile at your stupidity. Thanks for what you're doing. DB.
Well, thank you, DB. Tusen tak for listening to us. And we love our our Nordic listeners. And we also smile sometimes at our own stupidity. So you're in good company there.
Frequently. So that is it for email. As Omen said, we are getting into a new album. The album is A, the album that was supposed to be Ian's first foray into solo. We'll get into details more on that. For this week, we're going to dive into really just personnel, the new set of people making up this music that we're going to start listening to for the next 2 months.
Yeah, as we've said, as we spoke about sort of at length in the last number of episodes, obviously there was the tragic death of John Glasscock, the bassist. Barrymore Barlow was so upset that he took his leave from the band, and Dee Palmer and John Evans also went their own way. And how that happened, there's some conflicting reports about, but at the end of the day, it was Ian and Martin left in the band.
And even Martin wasn't supposed to be in the band. It was only when Ian decided that he needed some guitar that he reached back out to Martin, said, I need a guitar on a couple of tracks. Martin begrudgingly came back, and he stuck around for the bulk of it.
I'm sure that it was a frustration or a disappointment for Ian to have to release this as a Jethro Tull album rather than a solo album. But I wonder if it hadn't been released as a Jethro Tull album, if Jethro Tull, the band, would have gone forward, or if it would have just transitioned to be, that was such a huge rupture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For the band. I really wonder if releasing it as a Jethro Tull album saved Jethro Tull as an entity.
It's certainly interesting to speculate about in terms of the longevity of the band and really the sound arc for where Tull went and where Ian's later solo stuff went.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really interesting to speculate. But for this album, for a
what?
For a album that we're listening to, we have Ian Anderson on vocals and flute, Martin Barr on guitar. Formerly of Fairport Convention, Richard Thompson's band, we have Dave Pegg on bass and vocal harmonies.
And mandolin.
Mark Craney is on drums, and don't you forget it, special guest Eddie Jobson on keyboards and electric violin. He was so insistent that he be special guest. No joke. We'll get into it later, but boy, howdy.
Interesting.
Songs are by Ian Anderson with additional musical material by Eddie Jobson. Arrangements by Ian Anderson. Produced by Ian Anderson and Robin Black. Recorded at the Maison Rouge studios in London and at home, at Ian's home with the Maison Rouge mobile studio.
Oh, interesting.
Engineer was Robin Black. Second engineer was Lee Mantle. The album itself was released on August 29th in 1980. It peaked at 25 in the UK and 30 in the States.
Which, I know that there's a lot of shade, as the kids say, thrown at this album. It's not necessarily a fan favorite with a lot of diehard early Tull fans.
Yeah.
But coming in 25 and 30 is not bad.
I suppose. What is it, top 100?
Well, it's top 30.
I'm saying out of what?
It's top 25. Out of everything.
Oh, I guess so. Out of everything, yeah.
Probably out of 100, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, for such a drastic change, and granted, there was still some level of this is Jethro Tull, I'm going to buy this album. You don't really know the sound that you're going into, but still, there were a couple of singles that went out that sounded very different from Stormwatch, so that's it for A overall for now.
We'll get more into the details of the album as we go on, but I am at least, I will speak for myself, very excited to listen to and talk about the first song on this album and this whole album. I'm a fan of this album. And Nick, what is that very first song?
That first song is Crossfire. It was recorded May 18th, 1980 at Popley's with Maison Rouge Mobile Studio. So Popley's is the name of the manor that we've heard that name a couple of times. It's the name of the manor that it was Ian's home at the time.
Understood.
Take 3 was the master for this track.
Wow.
It was written literally the day after the Iranian embassy in London was attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And it was inspired by the SAS rescue of the hostages at that time. The band was actually in the studio at home rehearsing when Shona ran in and pulled them all in to watch it live on television.
Wow. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after we listen to the song.
Yeah.
Let's have a listen.
Spring lights and hazy rain.
Woof.
Nick McGill,
Wow.
I am caught in the crossfire of sounds that just came through my headphones.
I got caught in the crossfire as well. And honestly, I came out the better for it.
Nick, is this a sound that does anything for you?
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a really fun, funky song. I never really thought much about it. It never really struck me until really just this listening. And I've listened to this a handful of times, but just this listening, there's nothing markedly un-Tull in this song. You know, there's nothing that makes me say, oh, this shouldn't have been a Jethro Tull song. There's nothing that makes me say, oh man, they got rid of all of the musicians. Now it's not Tull. Like, this is Jethro Tull to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, it's interesting. We did a little review of the album Walk into Light, which was Ian's official first solo album, which came out a couple years later.
83, I think, yeah.
83. And that really does sound un-Tull-like
Yes.
to me.
Yeah, that is suitably an Ian Anderson solo album. Yeah.
But this, yeah, I agree. I think this sounds like Tull. And I love this sound.
It's good. It's really, really good. It's a lot of fun.
Call me a trashy 80s baby, but I said call me a trashy 80s
Oh, okay.
baby.
Yes, Daddy.
But I love the synth sound, and I can understand why it was such a shock, going from practically no synth to this
Yeah.
heavy synth sound.
Right.
And I can understand people saying like, "Oh, it's twee, it's silly," and there is a silliness to it. But I think that for me, that brings an appropriate lightness to contrast some of the really heavy topics that are discussed in this album and this song in particular.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. This is the start. This song is the start of an album that is really rife with topical commentary as opposed to like blanket social commentary.
And there were a lot of topics on which to comment.
Yeah, but when's the last time we heard anything that was so specifically topical? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is for Michael Collins' Jeffrey and Me, which was in 71, right?
Oh, you mean,
It was
so
Benefit.
when you say topical, you mean speaking about a particular specific event rather than specific themes that were kind of in the air.
Yeah, it's this event happened, not climate change or
Totally.
economics or things like that. Yeah,
I think there were probably references to specific events in some of the songs that
Sure.
that either we didn't catch or they were just fairly subtle.
Uh-huh.
But no, you're right. This is a song about a thing that happened.
right, which we're going to see more and more of, and I kind of like it. I kind of like commentary, Ian, as opposed to kind of a little more general Ian. It's a nice change of pace from what we've seen for the last couple of albums.
It is cool. It's a different tact. A different tact? It's a different tack. But it's refreshing and it's fun. Let's talk musically here for a second.
Sure. We get nice. I'm sure it's keyboard synthesizer, but we start out with a nice, fun piano run. The bass jumps right in immediately after.
Spring lights and hazy rain.
That intro is really disorienting for me. I think it's because of the way that the chord structure is. It sets you up to hear one. It sets you up like it's going in one direction, and then it instead of a key change of like going up a fifth, it almost drops down.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
hear that.
pretend like I know the sound science behind it, but it does set you up with a little bit of disorientation.
Yes.
Like almost the musical floor drops out from underneath you.
And it's a little manic too. It's a little.
Oh, yeah.
It's very quick, and it's there's a lot going on, so you start out right out of the gate, so you're immediately trying to process what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. Which again is very thematically appropriate for this song.
Yeah.
You were mentioning David Pegg coming in on the bass.
Very good bass. Very, very solid bass in here. Absolutely. It's very prominent. It's very forward.
There's something wonderful about Pegg's playing, which distinguishes itself from both Glasscock and Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson was, as we've mentioned, very serviceable on the bass, very practical.
Yeah.
John Glasscock had obviously that incredible, fluid kind of walking, almost poetic, melodic bass playing. The impression I'm getting from David Pegg's bass playing is that it's very structural.
Sure. Yeah.
He sort of sets up these big structures within the sound, within the song that everything else can rest on.
Uh-huh.
But it's not just providing like a doom, 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 doom underneath. It really is like creating this incredible space.
Yes. Yeah. There is substance to it. It's dimensional, and it's so, I don't know if it's just the mix or what, but it's very prominent. It's very, very forward, and it works. It works well in that regard.
Bass.
Yeah, it's meaty. It's a meaty bass. Martin's guitar is delightful in this. Very, very good.
Yeah.
He's
lost none of his Martinness.
he gives us a variety of sounds in here. It's not just wanging away. I mean, there's plucks, there's strums, there's wangy hits, but there's also, it's pulled back at times. He gives us a full, he's got such a palette of sound for us here that he dips into and kind of splashes with color here and there, and it all works well. Whenever you catch it, it's like just a little off or just a little forward, but it all fits and flows perfectly. If you weren't paying attention to it, it's not jarring at all. It's not bothersome,
I actually barely noticed the guitar on my listen.
Really?
Of this, yeah, because I was so listening to the keys. I was really
Yes,
taken
yeah.
with those little synthesizer boops in the chorus.
Oh my God. I wrote bew, boo, boo, bew. That's what I wrote down to represent that sound.
Yeah,
So good.
I love the sound when it's caught in the crossfire. Pew pew.
Caught in the crossfire, on Princess Kate Avenue. In for the winters, out for the lights. So call me a doctor, fetch me a policeman. I'm down on the floor in one hell of a fight.
It's so good. It's very consistent. It runs throughout, but it's silly and it's fun and it works. It works. Like you said, it's a little silly, but it's a little lightness for the heaviness of the context itself.
Even in Ian's voice, there's this sense of a lightness to the sound that I find very refreshing. And maybe it's because we're coming off of Stormwatch,
Yeah.
where there was that heaviness that pervaded everything in the entire album.
Everything. Yeah.
And presumably at the time of recording, Ian was like, this is it. This is my solo album. Yay. And so there was maybe a sense of freedom or a sense of having shed kind of an itchy snakeskin.
I'm very curious.
Like a lizard.
Like a lizard. I'm very curious where he was in the process before it was like it came down from above that this is going to be a Tull album. How many songs were recorded? What changed, if anything, musically, contextually,
editing-wise,
editing-wise? What changed when that decision was made? I wonder how much of a switch was flipped, if anything.
My impression is that it was pretty late in the game, like really post-recording everything, because, the way that all the literature talks about it is that it was kind of after the recording when
Oh, okay.
when Terry Ellis said, hey, you know what, actually we need to release this as a Tull album. Because it was release this as a Tull album, not record this as a Tull album. Or finish recording this as, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
But you're right, at
that's
some
true.
point, I mean, they must... At what point it was in the process would cause different things to be or not to be?
Yeah.
That is the question.
That genuinely is the question, yeah.
There's some fun little warpy sounds that actually get put on Ian's voice toward the end.
Oh.
Did you clock that?
I did not.
Maybe
no.
I was confusing them with the warbly synth sound, but I'm pretty sure there was actually an effect on his voice on the fade out.
Huh. Okay. I'll listen to it. If I can find something, I'll drop it in there.
Almost like an early auto-tune.
Oh,
Caught in the crossfire.
oh, maybe. Oh, that you said it's in the fade out.
I think it's around
Let
there.
me see if I can find something. I hear what you're saying. I think it's just Dave Pegg. I think it's the fact that we're not used to hearing someone singing that's not Ian, even if there are 5 people singing.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
I think
that's a good
it's
point.
just Dave Pegg down there, further down the octave.
How far down is he?
I mean, he's far enough.
Shall we jump over into the content and the lyrics of this song?
Yeah, let's listen to it from the bard's lips. This is from a 1980 concert from June 20th. This was live at the Hammersmith Odeon in London.
Wow, so really just after it was released, only a month or two.
Right there, yeah, right in the beginning. The concert opened with Black Sunday, and the next track was Crossfire, and we'll listen to Ian's intro to that song.
Here's another new one. This one deals with the freeing of the hostages from the Iranian embassy in London. It's called Crossfire. Hey!
Wow. So, it's so good to hear these little clips, Nick. I love when you bring these in because there's so much rich information in there. Crossfire!
Everyone was jazzed about the freeing of the hostages.
Sure.
Great. Yeah, they cheer for that. I'm assuming they're cheering for that and not knowing precisely that that's the song that he's going to sing. Are they cheering for Crossfire? Oh, yay, he's going to sing Crossfire now? Or was that in response to yay, freed hostages?
My impression based on that clip was that, and based on the sort of preliminary research that I'd done on this, is that because, okay, so let's kind of jump back here.
Yeah.
On the 30th of April, 6 armed gunmen stormed the Iranian embassy, which was on Prince's Gate, South Kensington.
Okay.
And they took 26 hostages, including a police officer and the embassy staff, some visitors, and they had demands.
Okay.
They were Iranian Arabs from a province in the south of Iran, and the exact political kind of their goals I'm still not super clear on, even having read the article about them, because it's just so convoluted and wacky. But they basically had this set of demands, including the release of a bunch of prisoners and their own safe passage out of the UK. And the British government, led by the very newly elected Maggie Thatch,
Oh, okay.
Margaret Thatcher, said, absolutely the F not. And that hostage situation dragged on until the 5th of May.
Yeah, 6 days.
So it was this very, very long, drawn-out thing. And the Iranian militants were getting increasingly frustrated. They ended up killing one of the hostages and throwing the body out onto the street, in this horrifying display. This whole thing was very, very much in the public eye. I think that television was a medium which was becoming more and more prevalent at this time. And so the images of this thing happening were plastered everywhere. More and more people were able to see this than any previous instance.
Sure.
And what eventually transpired was the government sent this special operations team from the roof down, rappelled down on ropes, broke through the windows, and had this super aggressive, fast assault, rescued, I think, all but one of the hostages, killed 5 out of the 6 of the gunmen, and it all happened live on television.
Yeah, that was not terribly common at that point.
No.
I mean, nowadays everything happens and is recorded, but
Right, exactly.
I can imagine how shocking and memorable and life-changing seeing something like that could be.
Well, to that point, it was seen as a huge victory for Margaret Thatcher specifically, and the special forces regiment, which was the Special Air Service, the SAS, when they undertook Operation Nimrod, which is what the thing was called. In the months afterwards, they saw a huge surge in applications to the SAS.
Sure.
Everyone saw this on TV and thought, "Oh my gosh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
serve England.
I wonder if the Navy saw something similar when they got Bin Laden. You know,
With the SEALs?
Yeah.
The SEAL teams? I imagine so. I think that, even though it was such a different circumstance, I'm sure there was a huge... I think there has been a big resurgence of interest in the Navy SEALs since that, was made so public.
Yeah, the romanticization of it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Make sure that the SEALs buy you dinner first.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll take you out to Outback, but probably not.
They'll take you out.
They'll take you out back. Yeah.
So with all that context in place.
Yeah.
And obviously, this happened before we were born.
5 years. 5 years to the day. April 30th, 1985 was my birthday.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
You were...
And 40 years to the day when Hitler committed suicide.
Okay.
That's how I remember my dates.
That's how I remember my birthday.
Yep. Let's see. Hitler 45, add 40 years, 85. Okay, I was born in 85.
Yeah. Nice. Right. So let's dive into the lyrics. Spring light on a hazy May and a man with a gun at the door.
Spring lights in a hazy May, and the man with a gun at the door.
He's really laying out the scene in a very, like you kind of said, a very literal way.
Yeah. It's still got kind of a little poetry there, but it is statement of fact more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's crawling on the roof above, all the media here for the show.
I've been waiting for our friends to come like spiders down ropes to free fall.
Someone's crawling on the roof above, all the media here for the show. I've been waiting for our friends to come, like spiders down ropes to free fall.
Ooh, the way that he kind of weaves these stark, clinical, almost, very, very, very violent images.
Yeah.
A 30-round clip for a visiting card, the way he weaves that into this sense of poetry and romanticize. What is that?
Romanticization?
The romanticizing.
Yeah. Yeah, the following line. A 30-round clip for a visiting card, admit one to the embassy ball.
A 30-round clip for a visiting card, admit one to the embassy ball.
Yikes.
Ooh.
I'm literally getting chills talking about it.
It's to think that this was a real thing that happened. And I know stuff like this happens all the time. Probably more and more in terms of like people attacking and
I don't think it happens that often.
Well, not specifically like embassies and stuff, but like coups happen all the time. People fight. We are certainly much more aware of it. But when you get something so visceral like this, it just feels so much more effective than like, oh, did you hear the news? This happened, and then you're like, yeah, well, that happens.
And I also think that us having grown up being born in the 80s, we've seen all of the action movies that came out of the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Where it was this kind of thing all the time.
Fair enough.
In 1980, there hadn't been that many, that kind of an image. Again, just going back to the profound effect that it had on the viewers, including, apparently, one Ian Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, this is Die Hard. This is those where the foreign country is the bad guy, or the bad guy is from a foreign country, and therefore he then represents the entire foreign country.
Right. And what's I think is fascinating about this is that in typical Anderson fashion, it's not so cut and dry.
Yeah.
He's almost setting you up for the trap of, oh yeah, the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys win, and there's this whole kind of swashbuckling maneuver that's happening. But at the same time, the chorus is caught in the crossfire. There's this kind of like epic struggle going on, and the viewer, the singer, is just literally on the ground waiting for it to pass.
Right. Yeah. He's a hostage. There's only so much he can do when the good guys, quote unquote, and the bad guys are fighting probably literally over him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just a soul with an innocent face, a regular boy dressed in blue.
I'm just a soul with an innocent face, a regular boy dressed in blue.
I wonder if he's kind of taking on the role of the policeman.
That's what it feels like, yeah. Conducting myself in a proper way as befitting the job that I do.
Yep.
They came down on me like a ton of bricks when they attacked the policeman.
Conducting myself in a proper way, but befitting the job that I do. And they came down on me like a ton of bricks.
It sounds like one of the people who were held hostage, yeah.
Yeah. You know, even and looking at this, I do think that there is a bit of a shift in the writing style from Stormwatch.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
We talked a little. I keep going back to our Walk into Light, which you can listen to if you subscribe to our Patreon.
Boom.
But we talked about, you know, the difference of the look of the lyrics on the page as opposed to Tull lyrics. There is a shift between something like North Sea Oil,
Yeah.
where there's a lot of white space. This is like a solid column of text all the way down in big, huge blocks.
Yeah, it feels a bit derivative to say, but it is less poetic in the sense that you don't have staggered sizes of lines. He's not really playing with scansion too much here. It's really just delivery of this tale, and in no way am I complaining about that. It's just a very different approach.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's some playing with rhythm within the lines.
Yeah.
There's some swinging on the ropes.
Is that a reference to like spiders down the ropes to free fall, or was that
Yeah,
just
I was making a joke.
Okay.
Was it a good joke? It was not.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Anything else particular stick out for you in the lyrics?
You know, I think there's so much contrast in the lyrics. I think in the final verse, there's this contrast that he sets up between calm reason floats from the streets below. And, you know, because in this situation, they were trying to negotiate and trying to negotiate
Right.
and trying to negotiate and not able to get, you know, everyone made a couple of little concessions here and there, but they weren't able to get to a place where they could resolve it peacefully.
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of double simultaneous process of like, oh yeah, there's these very calm, very reasonable talks going on, and simultaneously somewhere there's a Brownings in a two-hand hold, cocked and locked, one up the spout.
Somewhere there are Brownings in a two-hand hold, cocked and locked, one up the spout.
Also, to pair with calm reason floats from the street below and the slow fuse burns through
Yes.
the night.
Calm reason floats from the street below, and the slow fuse burns through the night.
The longer it lasts, the more concessions are pulled away or denied, and the more tense it gets.
Yeah.
And until it erupts, and in which it did. It took 6 days, but it did.
And whether or not Ian meant this to represent more than the event itself, I do think that there is a lot in this song that is thematic of that period of time. I mean, obviously we're going to be talking about the Cold War, but there is this sense of this, you know, kind of like on this side of things, we have the calm reason, and right behind we have the dagger ready to go. You know, this kind of cloak and dagger politics, this tense negotiations and real lives on the line.
Yeah.
And we're entering a very tense period of politics. Also, J Mancilo on the Discord just posted, still waiting patiently for A.
Well, Jay, you were gonna, let's see, today is the 25th of January. You are gonna have to wait a month and a half. This drops on March 8th.
Nick, anything else to say about Crossfire?
I think that's it for me. It's the start of a new era.
It is.
It's the start of a new approach to music. It's the start of a new sound. I like it all. I'm very excited for this album. Angie, the thing I'm most excited about is there was only one single bonus track.
So far.
Yeah, right.
Now, Nick, when you initially listened to this song, did you think that it was about the game from the 90s, Crossfire?
I did not. I didn't know what it was about.
Yeah.
But I can confidently say that I did not think that it was about Crossfire.
It's sometime in the future. The ultimate challenge. Crossfire. Crossfire. You get caught. Crossfire. Crossfire. You get caught. Crossfire. 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 You'll get caught up in it.
That game was amazing. For anyone who was not lucky enough to play it, it was basically a plastic
Arena.
Yep. And you had 2 or 4?
Two BB guns.
Yeah. Mounted on either side, which fired 1/4-inch steel ball bearings into the arena,
Hitting these like these bigger ball bearing targets that you want to knock into your opponent's.
or knock them out of the ring.
I think you had like a little pit in between each opponent, so you wanted to knock them into the opponent's pit.
It was wildly unsafe and so much fun.
You couldn't unless you broke it off, you couldn't like shoot the BBs in anywhere but the swivel into the pit, the arena.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean it was about as dangerous as Hungry Hippos, I'm sure.
Here you go, kids. You like ball bearings? You're gonna love this.
It was the 80s and the 90s. There were very few safe toys back then. I mean, we played with sticks, for Christ's sake.
That was the safest thing we could do.
Omen, if this song were a decidedly antiquated or outdated piece of fashion,
Ooh.
what would it be?
Okay, I'm thinking of the style that was kind of around during this period, the kind of pre-grunge style. You know, you had the like the late post-disco bold color block patterns.
Okay.
But then you also had this kind of militaristic, almost, what am I thinking of? You know, when the army has too much of something, army surplus.
Oh, sure.
Sort of army surplus fashion. So I'm sort of imagining like an outdated, maybe 1960s era army coat, but then filled up with all these colorful pins and things.
Okay, just like buttons and pins, you're saying?
Yes, but also like, you know, some gold lame on the epaulets.
What do the pins represent?
Well, they say things like save the whales. And,
Oh, like that kind of stuff. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I like it.
So call me a doctor, fetch me a policeman down on the floor. Caught in a crossfire, Princess Gate Avenue.
Omen, do you know, you may actually know this, do you know what the next song is?
Stop.
Yeah.
Let me think.
What comes after Crossfire? Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh, I know it. Next week, we will be listening to and subsequently talking Tull about Filingdale Flyer.
That is right. Not Flying Dale Flyer, which I always thought it was.
I always thought it was too. I even have difficulty saying Filingdale.
I know. Not a train like Omen thought it was.
Nope.
But we'll get into it. Until next week, you can be spiders down the ropes into free fall into our embrace as we accept you into our family on the Discord. And to do that, all you need to do is subscribe to our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our Discord, gets you access to 2 separate additional podcasts a month.
While we are holding your ears hostage, we have very simple demands. All we want is 5 stars and a positive review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Until next week, I am cocked and locked and one up the spout, Nick McGill.
I am hoping to go to the embassy ball, Omen Sade.
We have swept you off of your feet like a ton of bricks. The Feckless Momes.
And this is the slow fuse that burns throughout the several-year period. Talk Tull to me.
Oh, wow. Look at all of this stuff. I've never seen this much rope before.
Agent Sampson.
Yes, Sergeant McDonough. What is it? I'm here. I'm ready.
Step away from that edge, Sergeant.
But it's so far down.
I know. Here's one thing I'll tell you. I've done a lot of these missions over the years, and here's one thing: you never look down before you jump.
Oh.
It's just asking for vertigo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely almost fell twice already.
Have you checked your magazine?
Yeah, it's Prog Magazine. I get it once a month.
Okay, great. It's good to have something to read before the time to go.
We're leaving fairly soon, right? Right, Sergeant?
You know what, Sergeant?
I'm a sergeant.
Go.
I'm a sergeant too.
Rank doesn't matter out here in the night.
Oh.
The only thing that matters is being ready to go when you have to go, and going when you're ready to go, not before. You go when you say go.
I think I'm
Don't
ready.
go.
Oh, okay.
You ready to go?
Yes.
Speaking of being ready to go, have you checked your? Do you have your tactical diaper?
It has been used, but I have it.
Oh boy, that's something I learned early on. You always got to make sure you got a spare tactical diaper on these missions. You never know when you're gonna have a code brown.
I'll keep that in mind. I'm taking notes.
Get that pen out of here.
Oh.
You never bring a pen on these missions. You could poke your eye out, or it could fall into the hands of the enemy, and then they could write down mean things about you.
You sound like you speak from experience, Sergeant.
I've had a lot of bad times out here. Can't wait. 1 week from today, you know where I'm gonna be?
Changing your tactical diaper?
That's classified information, Sergeant.
Oh.
I'm gonna be in Fiji. Not worried about a thing. Just me and my PTSD.
Is that baggage small enough for carry-on, or do you have to check that?
I'm getting the signal now.
Oh, I'm ready.
T-minus 30. All right.
Let's do this, Sergeant. I'm ready. Let's go.
Remember 3 things.
Yes.
Always change your socks.
Socks changing right now.
Number 2.
Yes.
Never wrap your rope around your ankle.
Got it. Will not.
Number 3.
Yes. Tell me.
3.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
This is the last time we talk. Always remember this. Promise me.
Let's do it, Sergeant. I swear.
You've got to remember.
Yes.
That Tull to me is a proud member of the Feckless Moans Audio Network.
Yeah!
I don't know if it was good, but that was fun.